Hello, this is Anastasia, aka Totally Tage. And y'all, I watched a documentary called Should I Marry a Murderer? And I just had to come on here and talk about it. Because, girl, what? It opens with Caroline. She had a bad breakup, so she was looking for love or whatever. And Caroline is actually a pathologist? A pathologist. So that's somebody that, what's it called? Determines the cause of death, basically. I was gonna say a coroner, but I don't know if that's the same thing. She got on Tinder and she couldn't really find nobody close to her, so she made her radius bigger. What's it called whenever you make your radius bigger? Anyway, she did a bigger radius and then she found somebody on Tinder. This actually happened in Ireland. I'm gonna say Ireland. Sweden. No, not Sweden. Ireland. I'm gonna just say Ireland because they had the Irish accent. So Caroline saw a man in a kilt on his profile picture. Caroline actually messaged first. I don't see nothing wrong with that because a girl want what a girl want. I think I did that before actually, so it is what it is. So Caroline actually went to Sandy's place. I think maybe the first week that they met, and it was an hour and some away, but I can't really say nothing because that's what I do too. So she had a friend named Clara, and Clara was like, what if he's a murderer? Clara was kind of right, so, but she didn't listen. And I'm kind of like that too, so I can't really say nothing. Go ahead, Carolyn. Go ahead, Caroline. I'm gonna say it Carolyn or Caroline the whole time probably, so just don't worry about it. So Sandy lives on this big old farm with a whole bunch of land. It would be my dream come true to move there. It was so pretty. It was just so many hills and just land. I just want to live in the middle of nowhere. She actually got out the car whenever she went go see him, and they went to drive his truck off road. He let her drive. It was all good and hood. They immediately planned the next date. So Caroline was going over there every weekend. Again, I feel you, girl. Things moved really fast. She would go, like I said, every weekend for the whole weekend. So she would leave Friday, come back like Monday morning. I don't know what time she had to go to work, but girl. But again, I can't say nothing. Sandy liked to party a lot. So he said he was a farmer. They play hard and party harder. Carla, I think this was her best friend. I didn't even get the title of Carla. Carla said she had reservations about Sandy and she just wanted Carolyn to take it slow. So Sandy thought Carolyn's job was very interesting. I wonder why. They were together for a while. Sandy ended up starting a hunting agency. So on the land, they used to hunt. I don't like hunting. It just makes my stomach hurt just thinking about it. So Sandy actually had a twin brother named Robert. So Sandy and Robert I don't think they was identical, but they look really alike, but you can tell kind of the difference. Then we meet a bartender named Charles. So Charles was their bartender at a hotel that's a little bit down the road from the farm, and he said Robert and Sandy was always drinking at his bar. So Carolyn said drinking would change Sandy. I guess he would get like really, really mad about stuff and irritated, but she didn't know why, but she was about to find out. So at one of the parties, Robert actually took Carolyn to the side and told Carolyn that his brother Sandy was basically crazy. So I don't know what that was all about. I mean, I know what that was all about, but I guess Robert was trying to tell her like, girl, you in danger, girl. But I don't think Sandy would ever. Well, we'll get to that. Carolyn ignored that red flag. But I learned the hard way that if their family member tell you anything about the person, I don't know, just believe them, because they would actually do private shootings, which is crazy, and they would be drunk, because I already don't like guns, and because I'm scary. Yeah, so Sandy and Carolyn ended up getting engaged, and I think they were together for like maybe a month. We get to meet Margaret and Stephen. That is Carolyn's parents. Mind you, Carolyn's parents never met the man, just knew that she was going every weekend to go see the man. I mean, again, can't say nothing because, but I never got engaged to nobody. That's just crazy without, you know, letting my parents know who I was seeing. So Carolyn and Stephen was against the engagement because they never met him, and of course, any parents would be worried about their daughter. And I think Carolyn was the only child because they didn't talk about no other children. You ain't got no brothers. Because I think if she had brothers, she would have, they would have said something. So Carolyn and Sandy made it Facebook official. They said that they were engaged on Facebook. And Carolyn went to text her group chat, and the group chat was silent, girl. I was like, y'all could have at least said something, but again, so everybody thought Carolyn was moving too fast. Everybody approved, basically. So supposedly all Carolyn's friends was in relationships, and I think she just wanted to be in a relationship because everybody else was just busy with their significant other. So I think that's why she moved so fast. Margaret said it was a few months, so we're just gonna go with a few months. And this is when you get to the nitty gritty. So they was on a drive, and Carolyn was asking Sandy, like, is there anything you need to tell me? Is there anything I don't know about you? What's what? Because she felt like she knew everything about him, but, you know, you can't really know nothing about, well, a lot about somebody in a few months. So Sandy actually, they was on the way to his house. So Sandy actually not drove off the road, but like drove a little bit off the road, took her phone, turned off the truck, real dramatic. Carolyn was like, well, if you have a child or some debt, we could work through that. There ain't nothing. So that's okay. Then Sandy told her that him and his brother actually ran over somebody on a bike. And so Carolyn was like, I'm sure it was an accident. Carolyn. Sandy and Robert was on some I know what you did last summer type stuff. Like, y'all doing too much. Sandy said he'd been wanting to tell her since they met, and that has been bothering him. So I guess that's what Robert was trying to tell her, like, just to ease the pain a little bit more. Like, my brother be going through stuff, so you might not want to stick around. I don't know what he said for real, but but I think he was really trying to give Carolyn an out. So I think Robert was actually trying to protect Carolyn in a sense. Like, my brother ain't all there. So, well, he either was trying to protect himself or his brother or Carolyn, because he probably know his brother wanted to tell Carolyn. He probably knew that his brother wanted to tell Carolyn, and he probably wanted to nip that in the bud because we ain't told nobody in a year. Let's keep it that way. So Sandy ended up telling Caroline they was at their favorite bar getting drunk, because I feel like they did that every night. I don't know. Let me stop judging. So Robert was at their favorite bar with Charles, being the bartender, and they got drunk, but they wanted to go see one of their friends, so they left the bar. Sandy said they was driving down the street. It was like a 2-lane street, and they had a truck coming towards them, and the lights blinded him, so he didn't see the bicyclist right there. So he ran over the bicyclist. Robert and Sandy was basically tussling, trying to figure out if they wanted to call the cops or not. They ended up not calling the cops because they thought they was going to lose everything they had. So Sandy and Robert ended up burying the man on a estate, which is, I don't know, I feel like I'll be scared, but that's just me. I feel like that man would be haunting me every night. No, I'm good on that. Carolyn gonna tell Sandy, hey, everybody makes mistakes. So, I don't know. How would y'all feel, like, for real? How, like, be honest. If somebody told y'all that they ran over somebody a year ago, would you stay with them? I would tell, because that ghost ain't about to be haunting me too. Caroline basically didn't want to be embarrassed because she just got out of a bad relationship, and I guess she didn't want to be like, y'all, I did it again, but this is worse. I mean, that happens to everybody. I mean, I don't know if I would be embarrassed, but I feel like a lot of people pick bad men, but I feel like, you know, you don't be knowing at first. So, yeah. I think she just should have nipped it in the bud. Now, at this point, Carolyn actually Googled the story and she found out the man's name was Tony. Mr. Tony was actually on a charity cycle because he just got over cancer. I was like, Mr. Tony can't catch a break. At this time, it's already been a year whenever she found out everything. So Robert and Sandy bartender actually served the man that they killed. So he knew that it was like the bartender said that it was already dark whenever the man got to the bar, the bartender name. So the bartender told the man that I don't think it's a good idea for you to be going cycling this late. So Mr. Tony didn't listen. The bartender actually ended up offering Mr. Tony a room, but Mr. Tony was like, no, I gotta get to where I'm getting to. It's for charity. And again, she saw all the news stories and she said she was disgusted and she wanted to call the police, but she didn't. So Carolyn ended up saying she was too scared to sleep. Like, I would be too scared to sleep too. Like, this man, don't touch me. I'm good on that. Oof. So she ended up not calling the police. Carolyn ended up going back to work shook as ever. So I don't know, I'm already scary, like knowing that, and then you got to go deal with dead bodies in the first place. I don't know how you would even feel about that. Maybe, I don't know, I would be shook. I'm scary, so I know I can't do that. So Sandy want to start planning a wedding, basically. So Sandy was like, okay, let's get this ball rolling. What we doing? What we gonna get married at? We need to get our tux. Well, Sandy needed to get his tux. Carolyn needed to get her dress. Like, what we doing? We got a priest, we got a church, what we doing? So the interviewer actually asked Carolyn, why you didn't go to the police, girl? Carolyn actually told the interviewer that her mind wasn't positioned to go to the police. So she just wasn't thinking about going to the police. But you can't sleep? I would go to the police so I could sleep. So then I guess her family and friends came around. They saw it on Facebook. Like, they was messaging her on Facebook, congratulations, we can't wait till y'all get married, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. You know the basic congratulations, and we happy for y'all, even though nobody met them. But what would y'all do? Would y'all still invite the man to your parents' house if you knew he killed someone? I don't know. I mean, I know you can't never say what you gonna do. You can't on the slick, but no, you ain't gonna know where my parents live. Just in case, something happened. No, you ain't about to know where my parents live. We go out to eat, even if that. I don't know. So Caroline actually introduced Sandy to her parents. Her parents loved him. And I'm like, well, you don't really know when people murderers, so yeah. So it was during the holidays whenever Carolyn finally introduced Sandy to her family. The dogs liked them. And dogs I thought they'd be knowing, but Carolyn, I guess, just don't want to break up with him because her last relationship ended bad. Again, girl, you win some, you lose some, but what they say? You win some, you lose some, and you go on to fight another day. Like, girl. So Carolyn parents approved. Carolyn was a little bit too happy for me. I don't know. Like, you just was going to put that all in the back of your mind, knowing what this man did. But, again, I don't know, y'all. Carolyn actually felt special because she the only one that knew his secret. And she felt like, well, since he told me, he comfortable with me, right? And he really loved me or whatever. I ain't gonna lie, I'm a bird too. So whenever somebody do one simple thing, I'm like, duh, they love me. Like, what you think? But I ain't never had nobody tell me that. So I don't think I would be all like about that, because y'all, I just don't know. So then again, something crazy happened. So again, Sandy got all this land and stuff. So all of a sudden, this billionaire that from China wanted to build on his property. So he gonna ask Carolyn if she can help him unbury the body, well, dig up the body and move the body. I think I would have broke up with him then. I think that would have been the last straw, because I ain't touching that. I mean, I guess that's her job, but I ain't touching no dead body. You crazy? Billionaire wanted to build some offices or something, so I guess in the same place where they buried Mr. Tony, like, tell them to bury, I mean, not bury him, tell them to build it somewhere else. Like, I mean, well, I don't know if they would find it either way, because don't you have to, like, dig up for the piping and electricity and stuff like that? I don't know. I never built a building. But I think they would have. Can you imagine? You don't know. Well, I guess sometimes, people build apartments and stuff over cemeteries that they don't know about. So I feel like that can happen, but after Sandy asked her to dig up the body, that's when she wanted to go to the police. Like, that's your last straw? Like, I don't even, what? I don't know, y'all. I'm gonna keep on saying it. I don't know, y'all. Now Carolyn think this whole thing was a setup by Sandy. Not a setup, but like, I work with dead people, and now you want me to dig up a dead person. I'm about to say a dead person. So now you want me to dig up a dead person and help you move it? I think not. Well, Sandy actually had that she was a pathologist on her Tinder account. So Carolyn thought Sandy saw that on her profile and was like, all right, let's try to get this body moved. Well, apparently Sandy actually kept this secret for 3 years. So that's a long time, Sandy. No wonder why you was partying and drinking and drugging all the time. Carolyn thought she was going to get arrested for being an accessory. Don't think about that now. You should have been said something, but I don't know if I'm being too harsh, but don't think about that now. You should have been said something. Carolyn and Sandy go shooting, go hunting. Well, no, they do the plates. Whenever you shoot the plates, I forgot what it's called, but they do that. And then Carolyn gonna ask Sandy where the man is buried, and Sandy showed her. So Carolyn was thinking, like, how am I mark this place? So Carolyn ended up marking the spot with a sugar-free Red Bull, and they was drinking a lot of Red Bull. So she was smoking cigarettes, smoking whatever else she was smoking, drinking, just doing a lot. So Carolyn actually called the police before she actually went back to Sandy's house. So the police called Sandy, was like, girl, where you at? Carolyn ended up telling the police that she marked it with a sugar-free Red Bull. And mind you, Carolyn the only one that drink sugar-free Red Bull, so keep that in mind. Oh, and Carolyn actually ended up telling her parents what happened. So her parents were shook, but you telling everybody this, then you gonna go see the man again? I would have been shook too. Then Sandy went to a friend's house to a party, and Carolyn and Sandy had each other locations. So Carolyn sent the location to the police, and the police raided the friend's house in the middle of a party. Can you imagine having a good old time, and here come the police? Sandy and his brother Robert getting interrogated. So that they just kept on saying no comment, no comment, no comment, right? So the police had to let him go. I was like, oh, I feel like that's too easy. But they still didn't know if Carolyn was telling the truth or not. The news, everybody saw Sandy and his brother got arrested. So now Carolyn DMs is popping. They like, what happened, Carolyn? What happened? And she basically didn't want to message nobody back because she was embarrassed. So then 2 cops went to Carolyn's house to interrogate her. Then whenever Sandy and Robert got released, now Carolyn was shook. She was scared, all of that, because she didn't know if the police was gonna tell them, your girl, your fiance told on you. So she was paranoid about that. I feel like the police didn't really care, because I feel like they just left Carolyn and her parents to fend for themselves. Like, we can't arrest them, so what y'all gonna do? So the boys couldn't go back to the farm. They actually had to stay in another city, Um, well, they actually ended up staying with friends for a while. The police ended up finding a Red Bull can. And then Carolyn snuck out her parents' house and she actually went back to her loft and she actually had her wedding dress was actually delivered. So she tried it on. She tried it on. But I don't know. I probably do that too. Because I like to try on clothes anyway whenever I get home. I don't like to try them on in the store. Carolyn ended up getting some messages from Sandy and Robert's friend. Instantly blocked because what you doing? Don't talk to me. Well, I mean, I guess she didn't want to throw up any red flags that she told. Robert and Sandy's friend told Carolyn that the boy's been staying with him. And Carolyn like, what happened? I don't even know what's going on. Oh, that's crazy. Because what? I don't know. So she was acting like she didn't know what was going on. So Sandy was confused on like how anybody would even know, you know, what's going on and what the body was buried. Girl, boy, you just told somebody and now it's happening. But Sandy, I think, was in denial that Carolyn would do that to him. But I'm like, sir, everybody just trusting each other entirely too much. So Sandy invited him and his brother to go stay with Carolyn, and Carolyn gonna say yeah. So Sandy told Carolyn that he missed her and he want to see her, so that's why he wanted him and his brother to move in. So whenever the boys came to Carolyn's house, they ended up partying, they ended up drinking. Again, I would stay sober. I would act like I'm taking shots of something, and I'll be taking shots of water because what y'all doing? You know, I would be confused. I would be paranoid because I don't know if you know that I know that you know that I know that you know that I called the cops. I'll be on high alert. what Gina did on Martin. Yeah, I'll be on high alert because I don't know. Do you know that I told? Meanwhile, back at the farm, they were still trying to pinpoint where the body was buried because, you know, Sandy told Carolyn that's where it was buried and she put the can there, but they don't know, like, is it really here? But they must have dug deep, and they dug the thing with what's that thing? The thing with the spoon, one of them big things. They had one of them on their farm, so I'm like, you could dig deep with that. So yeah, the police get to dig in and everything, but they were still trying to pinpoint where Mr. Tony was buried. So the boys ended up staying at Carolyn's house. I don't know for how long. Carolyn said she was paranoid the whole time. I would be too, Miss Ma'ams, because she was like, well, I didn't know if the cops was gonna call me and be like, we got him. Not we got him, but we found the body. She didn't know, like, if the cops was gonna come knocking, like, yeah, we found the body. So she was paranoid about that. So then Robert again told Carolyn another version of the story. So Robert basically told Carolyn whenever they hit Mr. Tony, they put Mr. Tony on the side of the road while they went go get gloves in another car. They switched cars and went go get some gloves. So Mr. Tony was alive the whole time they was gone. Came get Mr. Tony, put him in the back of the truck, and then buried him the next day. I bet that man was in so much agony. Like, I broke my toe. My pinky toe, the smallest little bone in my toe last year. The most pain I ever felt in my life. And I had 2 kids. But I was on drugs. So then Sandy get a little, I don't know, they get a little bit too comfortable just talking. And Carolyn was acting like she was playing a game on her laptop. So then Carolyn was like, oh yeah, what happened again? And then he would just tell her. I'm like, y'all are too trusting. You just told this lady what happened and now all this stuff happened and you still talking? You wanted to get caught. So then we get a little backstory about the boy's daddy. The boy's daddy name was Tom, and he basically was a single parent. And whenever they were small, I don't know what they called the people across the pond. I'm gonna just say CPS. I'm gonna just say CPS went to their house because the boys was acting up in school or whatever entirely too much that they had to go to their house to search for something. So the boys was acting up in school, and somehow CPS got to their house. So they found all kind of guns all over the place. They daddy had so many guns just laying around, all over the place. We didn't really get that much on the boy's daddy. That's all they really said. So back at the farm, the police is still digging, and they found a dead deer first. Well, then I started thinking, like, did they bury Mr. Tony with some animals? Because that's just disrespectful. One of the investigators started to find wood chips, and I was like, no, they didn't. I'm thinking that they put the man in the wood chipper. And I was like, nah, y'all. The man was still alive. Calm down. Like, what are y'all doing? First of all, getting buried alive. I know that has to be scary, because get this dirt off me, first of all. I don't like that. And then I can't breathe now. Back at Carolyn's house, the boys are still there. She on pins and needles, paranoid as ever. She hear a bang at the door, and she was like, who could that be? Well, so they ended up being the detectives. So the detectives was like, Carolyn, can we come in here to talk to you? And Carolyn was like at the door, like, I can meet you outside. What? I mean, the cops didn't do that, but they was like, Carolyn, we need to go in there. Carolyn was like, I can meet you outside downstairs. This is supposed to be the door. I can meet you outside downstairs. So the police ended up going in her house. Like, girl, get out the way. So they see that Sandy and Robert is in her apartment, and they're like, girl, you ain't supposed to be talking to them. Sandy was like, this is my fiance. I could stay here if I want to. And Robert was like, well, I'm just here. So the detectives ended up leaving after that. I was like, I would think that they would want the boys to leave before they left. I don't know. I would think that. But so we see another detective. I forgot his name. I ain't gonna hold you. So we see another detective, and he was basically like, you could have cut off all contact and went to the police. I don't know that man's name, but he was mad. He was me the whole time. Like, girl, what are you doing? But so then Sandy basically was like, so how they knew your name? Have you been talking to them? So now Sandy got his radars, his antennas going. Now he like, okay. It was Robert that actually didn't believe that Carolyn had anything to do with it. I'm like, so I'm like, y'all are too trusting. Robert ended up leaving Carolyn's apartment. Sandy didn't believe that Carolyn would do something like that to him. So Carolyn ended up talking to her mama. And then she was like, well, Sandy still think we together. I would think so too, girl. You didn't go nowhere. You ain't break up with me. Carolyn had everybody stressed out. Carolyn just had everybody stressed out because they knew that he was staying with her at the time. One of the detectives ended up telling Caroline, like, don't tell nobody what's going on. Well, her parents already knew, but don't tell your friends what's going on. And of course, Carolyn texted her group chat and told everybody. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe she did that for protection, because somebody gotta know, just in case something happened. And one of her friends, James was one of her male best friends, but James didn't know that Sandy was still there. So James went to Carolyn's apartment to talk to her, I guess to check on her. And then before that, Carolyn told her Carolyn ended up telling James everything that was going on. And I felt so bad for James, because, girl, don't invite me over. Well, I think James invited himself over there, but can you tell me the man is still here? James actually got there first before Sandy. But Sandy, like, went to the store or something, and he came back, and James was like, I didn't know he was coming. So James was like, I got a pregnant wife. I gotta go. Meanwhile, back at the farm, they found all the carcass pits. So I don't know how, well, I guess the news, but so one of Sandy's friends gonna message him talking about, oh, they found the carcass pit. So I guess a couple of his friends knew they did that too. They need to be arrested too for accessories. You know? Since you knew, like, did you know? I don't know. Sandy was mad. Like, how they even know where it's at? I don't think Sandy got his wits about him. Sandy thought the police had Carolyn's apartment bugged, but no, she's the bug. Sandy started just tearing up Carolyn's apartment, looking for a wire, and he didn't find nothing. Then again, back at the farm, it took them 2 weeks to find Mr. Tony. So now it's all over the news. Sandy then starts to think that it's like another farmer that told on him. But again, it was a lot of land. And I don't, first of all, they wasn't farming nothing, I feel like. I just saw a lot of land. I don't even really know what they really did for real. It was just a whole bunch of land. I don't know what they farmed. Carolyn was like, she was like, okay, I'm still in the clear. They still didn't say nothing. So yeah, maybe it was another farmer. I don't know. Then after they found Mr. Tony, the boys was able to go back to the farm. Still, I don't know. I still feel like that's weird too, because they can still be hiding something else. I don't know. So then after the boys went back to their farm, that's when Carolyn went back to the police to play the audio that she recorded of Sandy. So they couldn't examine Mr. Tony's body for 7 days because he was frozen. Carolyn ended up going back to her flat. And I don't know how Sandy found out, but Sandy called Carolyn going off. So he was like, so you're the one that left the sugar-free Red Bull, because I know you're the only one that drink that. Then Carolyn heard Sandy driving, so she was again booty clenched. Like, I would have been bubble guts, because what you mean? You know that I know that you know. Like, what you mean? I still don't know. So she heard him driving, and he was like, I'm on the way to your house. I'm like, oh, you where? First of all, girl, gather my things while we on the phone. Because what you doing? As soon as I heard him driving, I don't know where you going. You could be going anywhere. Literally anywhere. I'm going somewhere else, not my house. And then he have an extra key. He have an extra house key. Sandy went to Carolyn's house, unlocked the door. Sandy was in there. I was like, I know you lying. Because, girl, gather your things. I don't know. Like, if he would have saw you outside, they would have got you at least outside, you know? So now Sandy know everything. So I guess the cops ended up telling him everything. Or one of his friends. Because how your friends know? Whenever Sandy got back into Carolyn's apartment, she started that voice recording again. Carolyn basically told Sandy, how you gonna be mad at me for something you did? So Carolyn thought Sandy was about to be mad. Sandy actually ended up apologizing. Like, you shouldn't be apologizing to me. Like, wouldn't? I think you're apologizing to the wrong person. So then Carolyn was like melting in her skin, trying not to be smitten again. I'm like, Carolyn, all it takes is I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I'm easy. I just said I was a bird and I'm easy. So that would be me too. I'm just so forgiving. That's my downfall. Like, okay, you said you were sorry. Then Sandy ended up going home. So you went over there just to do all that and then go home? Gas must be really cheap over there. Because that's what, 3 hours out your day too? And Carolyn ended up blaming the police for Sandy finding out everything. So then we meet a detective called David Green. David gonna say the information that they got from her led them to the body, but they needed more evidence. I don't know. I feel like that's enough. Well, I guess they need to know, like, what car they use. I mean, okay, I guess that's I don't know. Like, you need more evidence, but I could have sworn Carolyn gave y'all the voice recording of him confessing. But I guess, again, they need the vehicle, they need the clothes, gloves, all that stuff, but I would have just threw him in jail. But that's just me as a judge or detective. I would have arrested him immediately. Well, both. The police started looking for Mr. Tony helmet, his bike, you know, his clothes, anything they can use for evidence. He still had his clothes on, never mind. And the detective remember Carolyn telling them that he was still alive whenever he hit him. They wanted to do another examination of Mr. Tony after he thawed out. Mr. Tony was actually at the same mortuary that Carolyn worked at, so Carolyn actually had to stop working because of the investigation. This was actually during the lockdown. So Carolyn was on leave from her job. It was the lockdown, so Carolyn was losing her mind basically. So she couldn't see nobody either way. But me myself personally, I would have been totally fine with that. Like, nobody come over here, please. Sandy and your brother, stay where y'all at. I guess she couldn't talk to nobody because they didn't want Carolyn to compromise the case. But I don't know why they just need to put Carolyn in. They put, what's that called, the witness protection program, because then Carolyn started getting messages from Sandy, like old pictures and old videos of them when it was better times. That's how they get you, girl. So Carolyn, after she was getting the messages in the videos and stuff, so she gonna say she felt loved. I don't know. I was side-eyeing her daddy, because did your daddy not love you? I mean, I get it. You want to be loved by your mans, but girl. Then Carolyn actually ended up going to see Sandy and move in with him on the estate for I don't know how long. But I mean, I get it, because we all love a bad boy, but this is a little bit too bad. So again, the detectives, I know they was over Carolyn, so they ended up finding out Caroline was at Sandy's house. They actually ended up having a proper funeral for Mr. Tony, and I know his family was so happy about that. Well, not, you know, not happy, but you know, he was missing for 3 years. And they finally found out what happened. So James basically thought Caroline was dumb. So Carolyn was saying that she was fighting with herself the whole time. If you had, well, why go there, girl? You could leave in the middle of the night or in the daytime. Say you going to the grocery store. They literally live in the middle of nowhere. Say you gotta go get some cigs and not come back. Carolyn thought they had a bond. So again, from the secret. So Carolyn wanted to see the good in Sandy. That's why she kept going back, and that's why she didn't want to leave whenever she did go back. And again, Carolyn's parents were stressed out. So the police was actually really looking for Mr. Tony's bike. They think that would be like the big piece of evidence for the case, but they couldn't find it. But they ended up finding Robert's truck. So they ended up finding Robert's truck, the one they hit him in. But get this, so Robert and Sandy went, I don't know how far away to get the truck fixed, so they wouldn't do it in their town. And they told the mechanic, like, oh yeah, we hit a deer, can you fix this? So the detectives ended up finding the mechanic that they went to, and they the mechanic showed the detectives the pictures of the truck before he fixed it. So they was like, oh yeah. So that was a good piece of evidence too. So Carolyn, she didn't even want to go back to work. Her and the boys was doing all kind of drugs. Carolyn, then one night she went too drunk and too high, because whenever Sandy started talking about that investigation, well, not investigation, when Sandy started talking about what happened that night again, she did the voice recording again. Sandy ended up telling Caroline that he actually put the bike under a waterfall in the middle of nowhere. Again, it was a waterfall. I forgot what the waterfall was called, but he said he put it under the waterfall. So he said he put it under the waterfall, but the bike kept on bobbing up and down, so he had to go swim out and get it. And Carolyn was asking more and more questions, and he was just talking and talking. Well, Sandy actually ended up blaming Mr. Tony because he was like he should never even been out there. It was dark. And now Carolyn talking about, oh, that's a huge wake up call. Whenever he started blaming the man for his own death, yeah. Carolyn was like, yeah, he ain't gonna never change. Just imagine getting married to him and that's all he talked about. But then Carolyn said that all they did was fuss and fight and argue. So she was ready to go. Carolyn ended up moving in with her parents because she let go of her loft to go move in with Sandy and them. So now she mad. So now she got to move in back with her parents. And her parents was like, yeah, she just wasn't the same. So so Carolyn was basically just losing it altogether. Carolyn wanted the investigation to be over because she was on pins and needles. I get it. She was antsy. She wanted it to be over. Make these people go to jail fine. Carolyn actually ended up going back to the police station to let them hear the next confession. Whenever she was playing the confession for the cops, she was snorting cocaine, y'all. Like, girl. She was like, all I could hear was like, but don't mind me. Get him. I don't know how she still worked her phone and was doing cocaine. I can barely be crossfaded and use my phone properly. So then Carolyn actually ended up going to a therapist. So Carolyn went to the therapist on her own. The cops actually is supposed to set her up with one, but they basically said she a pathologist. She's smart. She ain't really going through nothing for real. Like, what? So they dropped the ball on that because everybody needs therapy, let alone somebody that's going through that. Then after they did the finding out the cause of death, so they was like, yeah, he was banged up or whatever, but it wasn't life-threatening. Just imagine being on the side of the road with all kind of bones broken and hear these nincompoops come, putting you in the back of the truck. I don't know. Basically, the coroners came up with Mr. Tony was alive for 20 to 30 minutes on the side of the road. But Mr. Tony was alive for 20 to 30 minutes. Can y'all, I can't even imagine. I need to stop asking y'all, can y'all imagine? Because no, I can't. I mean, so now the boys is arrested nearly a year after they first arrest, after they let them go. So now it's been like 4 years since this happened. Whenever they was getting interrogated again, there they go with the no comment. That ain't gonna get you out this time. So the detectives got in contact with Carolyn, basically told her, girl, you're gonna be a witness. So you're gonna have to get on the stand. Carolyn heard that. She was relieved that, you know, all of this is about to be over, but she was panicked because she don't want to go in front of her mans and his brother, like, because they was really, because I don't know, just don't look at me while I'm on the stand. I would have to do it though. That's a bench warrant. Then we get to meet Sandy's lawyer. His name is Brian. Basically, Sandy told Brian everything that they did it. Like, I don't know if I could be a defense lawyer because I feel like most people do it. It's like a smidget of people that don't do it, but he just told you he did it. So what you defending? Well, probably a lighter sentence. Maybe that's what it is because you going to jail, sir. Carolyn dyed her hair red to match her car. Carolyn was losing it yet again because I gotta go in front of my mans and his brother. Like, Carolyn was worried about losing her career, so she started hanging out with the wrong crowd, doing more drugs, drinking more. But apparently, she didn't really do drugs before she met Sandy. Like, you doing cocaine though on your own? Not on your own, because Sandy was there, but you went from nothing to just cocaine. Sandy's lawyer was trying to discredit Carolyn, basically. I don't know why, because you know he did it. But I guess, again, he's trying to get him a lighter sentence. Carolyn didn't want to testify, so her lawyer gave her a little push. by telling her that it's gonna be a contempt of court. So yeah, a warrant. Carolyn actually went on the run. So Carolyn actually wanted to find the bike. So Carolyn went back to the farm to try to look for the waterfall and look for the bike. So whenever it was time for her to testify, they was like, she didn't come, so they like canceled the first day, whatever it's called. They canceled the first day, and then they called Carolyn's parents like, where your daughter at? And Carolyn's parents were like, we don't know, y'all. Carolyn's parents, I know, was stressed out for a good year, well, a year or two. Carolyn went back trying to find Mr. Tony bike. She didn't have no signal. Nobody knew where she was. So there's that on that. She got, again, that land was so much, like, oh, she ended up, okay, so she was going into the thick of it, and then she heard like a helicopter, so she went into like one of the barns. She hid in there for a little bit, and then she saw a tractor, so she stole the tractor to get to the waterfall, because she was walking the whole time. I think she walked for like a good 7 miles. Girl, she was on a mission. So back in court, the defense was very happy. Again, they got the dismissal for the day. Now they got a warrant for Carolyn's arrest. So basically now you on the run, ma'am. So I guess she didn't really think of it like that. She just wanted to go find that bike so bad, just to get that piece of evidence. But Carolyn stole the tractor, so she got as close as she could to the waterfall, what she thought the waterfall was. Well, I guess she knew what a waterfall was. And she like blocked the little street. It wasn't a dirt road. She blocked the little dirt road so the cops couldn't go back there. But I'm like, they could go on the grass. So now Carolyn is on foot. Carolyn ended up finding a waterfall, so she started looking for the bike immediately. So I don't know how the police found her. Well, I know, because I guess she can't, stay away from this dang on farm. The police ended up arresting her for contempt of court. And after all that, y'all, she didn't even find a bike. Then after she got to jail, they was like, you still have to testify. The police ended up calling Carolyn's parents to let them know that we got her. She in jail. She about to testify. Carolyn, I think, only stayed in jail like overnight. So whenever they went back to court the next day, she was still in her cell. Boys ended up getting a plea deal, so they didn't even have to go on trial. I would have been like, ain't this some shit? After they announced the plea deal, Carolyn got to leave. But I think Carolyn ended up going into court because I feel like she saw what they looked like, and she was like, basically Sandy looked handsome. So at the end of everything, Sandy ended up getting 5 years. And I was like, I feel like that's not enough. Like 5 years and 8 months. But his brother got 12, so I guess Robert was actually driving and not Sandy, but Sandy was an accessory. So after everything was done, Carolyn moved on. She moved out the city. She met somebody new. She got clean. Like, girl, they got some good men out here. And Carolyn is saying that she see a psychiatrist now and is basically a happy ever after. Don't we love those things? Y'all gonna have to tell me what y'all thought about this, because girl, what? I need answers. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about this crazy story. Bye.